let's have a look at model solutions for this exam paper, which is Monday, the 6th of November, 2017. It is a calculator paper, so we are allowed to use a calculator. Let's have a look at how to answer some of the questions in this paper. So the first question is worth 3 marks and it's pretty simple and it's straightforward. It is a solving equations question. So you obviously have to expand the bracket first, which is 3x minus 3. Then obviously you put the x's on one side. So I'm going to get rid of the 3x by taking away 3x on both sides. 5x take away 3x is 2x. Take 6 equals, well, minus 3 left on this side. Then take the minus 6 on the other side by adding 6. So 2x equals 3. So now we've got 2x equals 3. I need to half both sides. So half of 3 I can write as 3 over 2. Or it's entirely up to you. You could even write it as 1.5. Okay. And that's it. Right. Emily buys a pack of 12 bottles of water. The pack costs £5.64. Emily sells all 12 bottles for 50p each. Work out Emily's percentage profit and give your answer to 1 decimal place. Obviously, because they're saying 1 decimal place, it's a little bit of a hint to you that obviously please use your calculator because your answer is not going to be a nice whole number. So she buys a pack of 12 bottles and she's selling them for 50p. So I need to do 12 times 50p on my calculator. And when I do that, I end up with £6. Well, the pack costs £5.64. So how much profit is she making? Well, you do the original, take away £5.64. So you work out the difference, divided by the original. So the original she bought was £5.64. And then you times it by 100 because a percentage is always out of 100. So we just tap that into our calculator. You do 6 take away 5.64, then divide by 5.64, and then times by 100, and you end up with 6.382978, and it goes on for a while. And obviously we have to round to 1 decimal place, so 6.4%. Don't forget to write your answer on the line, because if you don't write the answer on the line, unfortunately, you do not get the marks. Okay. Let's have a look at the next question. Looking a little bit tricky, especially because not a lot of numbers, a lot of words there. So let's have a look. You got Hasmeet walks once around a circle with a diameter of 80 meters. There are 8 points equally spaced on the circumference of the circle, and we have to find the distance Hasmeet walks between one point to the next point. Well, it tells you the diameter is 80, so let's put that in. Often really good to put in what they tell you, first of all, because it will help you. So we need to work out the circumference of the whole circle, and obviously circumference tells us the distance around the circle, so we can do that, can't we? So that's pi times 80 on our calculator, which is 80 pi, and that's around, well, you can leave it as 80 pi, but if you want it in numbers, 251.3274123. Okay. That's the distance the whole way around the circle. Now it's divided into 8 equal parts, so we just need to divide by 8. And that's 10 pi, which is 31.41592654. And I'm just going to round my answer to 1 decimal place, 31.4, and there we are. So the distance from one point to the next point is 31.4. So let's have a look at what the next question is asking us. So you've got 4 points which are moved, as shown in the diagram below. Hasmeet walks once around the circle again. Has the mean distance that Hasmeet walks between one point and the next point changed? You must give a reasoning for your answer. Okay, so a little bit of a tricky one, but if you think about how to work out the mean is worked out by working out the total divided by how many. So the size of the circle hasn't changed, has it? The size of the circle is still the same. So the circumference is still the same, 80 pi. How many points have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 divided by 8 is still 10 pi. So regardless that the points have changed, it doesn't matter because the total distance is the same and the number of points are the same. So we can write that down. So I would probably say something like, no, mean distance stays the same because total distance remains unchanged. Total distance remains unchanged and number of points also remains unchanged. Okay. Let's have a look at the next question then, shall we? Okay, so 3 marks for a probability question. There are only blue cubes, yellow cubes, and green cubes. I'm just going to highlight that just so it stands out. Right, there are twice as many blue cubes as yellow cubes and 4 times as many green cubes as blue cubes. Hannah takes a random cube from the bag and we have to work out the probability she takes yellow. So I'm going to write blue, yellow, green. So there are twice as many blue as yellow. So if yellow is X, blue has to be 2X. And 4 times as many green cubes as blue cubes. So times the blue by 4, that's 8X. Okay, add all that up, the total is 11X. What's the probability she takes yellow? Well, X over 11X, but we can simplify that because the X's cancel, so we're left with 1 over 11. That is our answer. Not too difficult, is it? Right. Let's have a look at the next question. So rotate the trapezium 180 degrees around the origin. So obviously you would put your tracing paper on this, you would put your pen in the middle and you would obviously rotate it halfway. And when you do that, it should end up here like that. And I'm going to label it A. The next one we can do on here, because you have to translate, that means move. That means 1 back and 3 down. So pick a point. Go 1 back, 3 down, 1, 2, 3. And then you could just draw it. It goes 1 down, how many across? 3. That's 2 there. And there you are, and label it B. And we are done with this question. So the first few questions are proving to be quite simple and straightforward, aren't they, on this paper? The next one is worth 4 marks. Looking a little bit tricky. Not so much for the first one, because when you have a times and you have the same base and you have laws of indices, obviously you add the power. So 3 add something is 9, has to be 6. There you are. Just do 9, take away 3 to get 6. The next one, well, 2 times something equals 10. It has to be 5. This one I think can be a little bit trickier. I think it looks, so you got 100 to the power of A times 1,000 to the power of B can be written as 10 to the power of W. And we have to show that W is 2A plus 3B. Well, first of all, we've got 100. That's the same as 10 squared, isn't it? So 100 to the power of A is 10 squared to the power of A. Just going to leave that for now. Let's do 1,000 the same way. I know 1,000 is 10 cubed. So 1,000 to the power of B is 10 cubed to the power of B. So I've now got to do 10 squared to the power of A times, because we have times in them, by 10 cubed B. Well, when you've got brackets, you just times, don't you? So 2 times A is 2A times 3B. We've got the same base, so that's 10. Times sign, that means you add the powers. So 2A add 3B, and hence W is a power, and my power is 2A add 3B. Okay. Let's have a look at the next question. Question 7. We have got ABCD is a trapezium, and we have to work out the angle CDA. So CDA, the first thing you must do is draw the angle in that they want. Sometimes I shade it in, sometimes I don't, but you just need it to stand out because you need to know how to get to that angle It needs to stand out, so each time you're not trying to find which angle it is. So we've got a trapezium and we've got a lot going on. Let's have a look at what we could do. I need to have a little think about which order we're going to do something in. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is, if I take this little bit of this triangle, because I don't really know something else about it. I've got 7.5 there. I've got 6 centimeters here. It's that triangle there. And this angle here, I'm going to have a go at working that angle out. I mean, I could use Pythagoras as well. That would also work. But I'm just going to use the angle just to start off with, okay? Because I think for me, opposite and hypotenuse, I'll just rather use sine than Pythagoras. So I'm going to do sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Sine theta equals 6 over 7.5. If you were to use Pythagoras to do this bit, not work out the angle, but the bit that I'm going to use this to work out the angle, it would probably save you less time, but I'm going to do sine minus 1, and I end up with 53.13010235 degrees, and that's the angle. So we might need the angle, we might not need the angle. But sometimes it's worth working out whatever you can. That's the first thing that came to my mind. Let's just use Pythagoras now. I could just use what I've used, but I think I'm going to use Pythagoras. C squared equals A squared plus B squared, but I've got C. I want to work out B, so I've got to do B squared equals C squared minus A squared. So that is 7.5 squared take away 6 squared, which is 20.25. I've got a square root that, and I end up with 4.5. So this here is 4.5, which is this here, which I've worked out is 4.5. Right, if that's 4.5, that bit there is 10. That means this leftover bit here, 10 add 4.5 is 14.5, and then 14.5 add something gives you 24, because the whole length is 24. That bit there is 9.5 centimeters. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. You might not have needed the angle to start off with. I know that this side here is 6, so I know this side here is also going to be 6. Well, I've got everything I need now to work out my angle, because I've got 6 there, I've got 9.5 there, and I just need that. So really, I didn't really need the angle to start off with, so I can cross that out. Could leave it in there if you wanted to. Sometimes that happens in exams, especially the higher paper, because there's so much there to work out. You might find that actually you want to work certain things out, and you might not need them. You can cross them out. You can leave them entirely up to there. You could have even picked up a method mark, but because I know that I don't actually need it, I'm just going to cross it out. I've got the opposite and I've got the adjacent, so that's tan. So I've got tan theta over opposite over adjacent, so 6 over 9.5. Obviously, you've got to do inverse tan to get 32.2756443, and I end up with just to one decimal place, 32.3 degrees. And nice and straightforward. Okay, so question 8 then. Write down all the figures on your calculator display. So we need to tap that into a calculator. Obviously, nice, easy 2 marks. Often, if you get this wrong, a little bit of a shame, isn't it? Because you've lost out on some very easy marks. So always double check by doing the same calculation twice, because I know you think you've got a calculator. Sometimes the calculator can mess up. Sometimes by mistake you can put in the wrong number. So highly recommend that you tap it into your calculator more than once, just to double check you're getting the same answer each time. So 2.75603957 is what I always get. And then I have to round to 2 decimal places, 2.76. Again, such easy 3 marks to pick up on. Really, really easy. And, you know, it'll be a shame just for a little error if you lose these 3 marks. So then, yesterday it took 5 cleaners 4.5 hours to clean all the rooms in a hotel. There are only 3 cleaners to clean all the rooms in the hotel today. Each cleaner is paid £8.20 for each hour or part of an hour they work. How much will each cleaner be paid today? So first of all, if I've got 5 cleaners, it takes them 4.5 hours. So how many is that altogether? So 5 times 4.5. Oops, that's not a 4.5, is it? So let's cross that out. 5 times 4.5 is 22.5 hours. Okay, in total, it's taking these 5 cleaners 22.5 hours. So I now need to do 22.5 divided by 3 because I've only got 3 cleaners and I've got 7.5. So the 3 cleaners have worked 7.5 hours each. So 7.5 times £8.20. Actually, no, because what are they saying? Oh, £8.20 for each hour or part of an hour they work. So just before I answered that, just quickly saw that at the top. So they're not going to get paid. So for 7 hours, they're going to get paid £8.20. And for the half hour, they're going to get paid £8.20. So if I get my pen, that's actually 8 hours they're getting paid for. So 8 times £8.20 is actually £65.60. And that is the answer. So it's really important to see because for a minute, I was going to do 7 times £8.20 and then half of it because I thought they might get half the money. But when I glanced up, it said they get the same amount. So whether they work half hour or they work an hour, they still get £8.20. So very important to pick that up. So let's have a look at the next question then. So here is part of a distance time graph for a car's journey. Between which 2 times does the car travel at its greatest speed? And we have to give the answer. So just by looking at it, it's the one obviously with a steeper gradient, which is this one here. And the time is 0 to 20 seconds. And you have to give a reason, because if you don't give a reason, you don't get the mark. And I'm going to say because gradient is greater. Steeper the line, the higher the gradient. So I've got to work out the greatest speed. So this here, let's see what that is. So 200, 320, 340, 360. 360 divided by this here is 20. And obviously we've got a calculator. We can work that out. It's 18. And let's not forget to write on the line. Okay. Let's have a look at the next question. So we've just got 2 pie charts here. So we've got the pie charts give information about the ages in years of people living in 2 towns, Adley and Bridford. Okay. Let's have a look what the question says then. The ratio of the number of people living in Adley to the number of people living in Bridford is given by the ratio of the areas of the pie charts. So what proportion of the total number of people living in these 2 towns live in Adley are aged 0 to 19? Give your answer to 3 significant figures. Right, so first thing to know is it says diagrams are drawn accurately. And we want to know ages 0 to 19 in the 2 towns. Okay, so what do I know so far? So what I'm going to do is, that's the center, isn't it? I'm going to measure this. And when I measure it on the accurate paper, I get 4.8. I'm just going to work out the angle for this. It's 70 degrees when I measure it. Do exactly the same there. That's 60 degrees there, and my radius is 4 centimeters. Okay, so because I want the proportion, and the proportion is obviously going to be the sector, isn't it? So that's what I want to work out. So let's work out the area of the full circle for Adley first and see what we get. So pi times radius squared. So 5 times 4.8 squared, and that gives me 576 over 25 pi on my calculator. Entirely up to you, you can use numbers, but I'm going to avoid using numbers only because I really want the accurate result. If I start to round early on, I can make a mistake and I can lose marks at the end because I did a rounding issue at the start. So now, okay, the people between 0 to 19 is 70 degrees, isn't it? And it's 70 degrees out of 360 degrees because there's 360 degrees in a circle. So I've got to do 70 degrees out of 360 degrees of 576 pi over 25 out of, now I need to work out the total. So we'll come back to that. So let's work out Bridford. So I want the area, which was pi times 4 squared, wasn't it? Which is 16 pi. Okay, total number of people, which is what I want. Total number of people in both towns in Adderley plus Bridford is 576 pi over 25. Add 16 pi. When I add them on my calculator, I end with 975 pi over 25. Right, that's the total number of people in the both towns. So I can do that here. So obviously of means times. So I could tap that into my calculator. When I tap that into my calculator, I actually end up with, quickly do it on my calculator, I end up with 0.11487179. And how much do you want the answer to? 3 significant figures. So 0.115 is your answer. Okay, thank you for watching. We've done the first few questions. We'll be back to do the next few questions in another video. Thank you.